Next segment is our Bookster segment. Bookster is a website for book lovers and much more. We're excited to welcome Jen Sincero on Skype. She writes the You Are a Badass book series, and her latest book is called You Are a Badass Every Day: How to Keep Your Motivation Strong, Your Vibe High, and Your Quest for Transformation Unstoppable. That is one heck of an awesome title. Hey, Jen.
How's it going?
Good. I love the name of your series, and I like to always say, be a badass every day. In some way, be a badass. So can you tell us about your book?
Yeah, it's sort of like a spiritual personal trainer of sorts, where if you're already working on yourself and reading other self-help books and meditating and all that stuff, this will kick your butt and make sure you stay on track.
I like it. The book has 100 exercises and reflections for the reader. Can you give us some examples?
Yeah, so, one exercise might be to get really specific about your goals, write them down, because I think a lot of times we're like, yeah, I'd like to get rich or be happy or whatever.
Right.
Like, get specific and it might happen.
Well, see, that's interesting you said that, because I had a girlfriend who went through a terrible divorce and thought she'd never love again. And now she believes in writing down lists. And she wrote every characteristic that she wanted her future husband to have. And she said, I wish I was more specific because he's everything on that list and I forgot a couple things. So is there power in intention?
Absolutely. And I've heard that same exact story myself, where, and I've done it myself, where I write stuff down. And yet we tend to not take the, 4 minutes it would take to make a list like that about how much money we desire to make, what we want our lives to look like, what we want our future mates to look like. It really doesn't take that much time.
Yeah, that makes sense. How has your life changed because of your focus and motivation?
Completely. My big stumbling block was around money. I was living in a garage in my 40s, and I got really specific about how much money I wanted to make and exactly what I was going to do to make it. And man, it's night and day now.
How long did the writing process and publishing process take for you?
I'm sort of sad that you asked that question. My experience is extremely abnormal. I am a sprint runner, and I write most of my books in a month.
Really?
Yeah. And, I've been a writer for over 20 years. I keep trying to be one of those people who shows up every day and does it, and it's just not who I am. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But, and then I go away for a month and live in a canyon and don't check any cell phone stuff. So that's my balance.
Well, that's smart, though, because it's probably how you recharge the battery and go back out and sprint again.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of people like that, and I think that they beat themselves up because you're supposed to have this daily balance in your life, and I think there's lots of different ways to have balance.
I like that you said that, because we put pressure to find balance, which is kind of the antithesis of what you're trying to do. But I think it's just what works for you and how you're able to accomplish your goals. And if you can do a book in a month, more power to you. If you're somebody that needs to have that daily task of I need to write 48 hours a day to keep my craft strong, then so be it. Absolutely.
And we have enough ways that we make ourselves wrong, So if that's how you knock it out of the park, accept it and capitalize on it.
Now, we're talking about finding our own self-motivation. It's almost January. We just talked about New Year's resolutions. Are you someone who believes in the power of resolutions?
Definitely, whether it's on New Year's or the 3rd of March or whatever. But I think taking that time to sit down and get very clear on the specifics of what you desire to create is critical. And I see so many people not doing it. So hell yes.
I like that. Now, we just mentioned something about people not doing it, and the majority of people bail on their resolutions by February. What's some advice that you give to people who might not be able to have the follow through?
I have so much advice, but one thing would be to chunk it down instead of, coming up with some grand scheme and trying to see the whole thing at once. Like, let's say you want to write a book, chunk it down and be like, I am going to write half a chapter in January. I'm going to write the rest of that chapter in February. Get clear on the pieces and chunk them down so that you can get out of overwhelm, because that is the biggest killer.
So mostly be realistic about your goals and what you're trying to do.
Yeah, more, think big and dream huge and all that. But I think then the actual tasks of it need to be out of overwhelm and bite-sized so that you actually do what you set out to do instead of curl up in the fetal position because you can't handle the whole thing.
Well, also with failure, when you set a goal and you're just hitting roadblock after roadblock, how do you continue to have that enthusiasm and passion for that goal?
you go to the spiritual gym, as I call it. And that's actually what You Are a Badass Every Day is about, is staying motivated. And so you've got to have, again, specifics in place. What self-help book are you reading, and how much of it are you reading it, and when are you reading it? What people are you surrounding yourself with, and when do you talk to them? Are you meditating? When and for how long? What music are you listening to? What are you doing? Motivation and tenacity are muscles, and just like physical muscles, you've got to keep them in shape.
Awesome. Do you have a resolution for the new year?
Yeah, I'm going to get in shape. I'm going to, you will be able to bounce a quarter off my stomach by the end of the year.
All right. And you know what? I believe you. I know that you're going to do it because you are very focused and you wrote the book after all. Thanks for joining us, Jen, and have a very happy holiday.
Thanks so much. You too.